Oh, what is Zeddy up to? What's up, Zeddy? Oh, a 7 mana card. That's crazy. Where did you get that? Alright, first things first, by the way. There's no such thing as control dying from the game ever. No such thing. It might just not be obvious that it exists anymore, because people want to play decks and not card. I know, it's crazy. Card, but card, guys. But what about card into a card? Into a card. You know, 6 times. With brawls and all that garbage. What about my card? Big card, though, like, you have to wait until you can play card. What do you do up until then? You have to control with something. Somehow. So Zeddy wants a tutorial, right? How do you play card? And win the game. Oh shit, maybe it's not gonna happen this time. Oh shit. I don't know, to be honest. Because people win playing card against me. First things first, if you survive long enough, you play successful card. All you have to do, all your brain has to do is just figure out how to survive long enough. No one's gonna tell you, though. How do you play Sith Mage and win the game? No one's gonna tell you. I'm not playing Sith Mage because I can't fucking afford it. That's the first thing Zeddy doesn't fucking understand as a whale. As piece of shit whale. Of like, why not everyone playing Control? Control's supposed to be the best fucking deck ever in the universe. No one can afford your stupid fucking decks, Zeddy. No one wants to play that shit. No one needs to discover that shit. That's why it's so difficult to find control decks, because no one can play Hearthstone. I can't just enchant, create a legendary out of thin air. I have to actually pay money for this shit. He doesn't understand. The first hurdle. There's 20 more hurdles to make a control deck. 20. Second hurdle. He says mid-range. Mid-range. Okay, then you don't understand. It's tempo, okay? He doesn't even understand. What is this paladin thing? What is this paladin thing going on? There's aggro that vomits minions on the board as fast as possible and then buffs those minions. That is aggro. Very simple to understand, Zeddy. And this is tempo. It takes a little bit of time to summon bigger minions. That is tempo, guys. Holy crap. And if you rely on like lifesteal to bring you back to life, and some bigger minions to do things for you, that's potentially heavy tempo. Who knows? And maybe you can push that heavy tempo, drum rolls please, into some kind of control deck. That's crazy. Who would have done it, bro? Who would have fucking done it? And went legend with it? And I'm not going to Legends rank 1. I wonder why I'm not doing that. You know? I wonder why control deck's not supposed to go to Legend rank 1. Like, why? But why, Zeddy? Another hurdle I heard. Another hurdle. Why control decks cannot exist in Legends ranking. Why? Because you can't control these fucking decks. First of all, you can't control Legend players. Holy fuck. You can't. It's just impossible. They're capable of such crazy things now. They're capable of just discovering win the game card. They discover random, but they know how to do it. You know, like, that's the first thing. The second thing, their decks are so refined that you don't have time to play control, and you can't counter every single move that they make. It's always crazy shit that happens up there, and you have to use every single mana crystal as efficiently as possible. Of course, the decks are gonna squeeze themselves into very tight spaces, and Zeddy's gonna cry because he's a cat. You know, he can't squeeze himself into a tight space like rats do. What do I do? Why the refined decks are smaller than the big decks that I like? I like big decks. You like big decks, Zeddy? You like big decks. Everything makes sense. And that's just technically what power creep does. And even still, you know, yeah, you can say that my deck is like crazy and doesn't work because I went to legend with it. The rest is a question mark. The rest has to be tested of like how good it is and what people are doing in the first place. Just because no one pleases Zeddy and plays control decks anymore, I'm not surprised. First things first, the best deck is a tempo deck. Then you have an aggro deck, which is a warlock deck, and a control class that doesn't actually play Borklers that much. It plays Swipe a bunch of times. Let's see what Druid is about. Alright? It's a control class. Zeddy should know. Zeddy played a lot of Druid in Wilds. Not actually. But he's just having an existential crisis. A very personal thing, you know. Doesn't fucking apply to anyone else. Because I don't want to see the metagame where people just play big card and win game, you know? I don't want to see that shit no more. Big card not do anything anymore. If you can find a way to play big cards, of course you're going to be better off. Oh wait, it's not anymore because you can just draw a bunch of small cards or generate a bunch of small cards. So who wins? Control decks win in the long run. You put people in an uncomfortable situation where they have to spend a little bit too much mana doing not enough. If you can put them in that situation, like people, every time I play against control decks, guess what they do? They play passive. They play no minions. They just play Borkler into a Borkler. That's control decks in a nutshell forever. You think I'm okay with that? You think control deck's supposed to exist like that? Holy Jesus, bro. I don't think so. I think Zeddy needs to shut the fuck up. Whatever died actually supposed to have died because it sucked balls. And you can still do it. You can still play card into card, and I've lost countless times against these one card wonders that people pull off. Reno is my most hated card that Zeddy fucking defended. And he's hoping up like, Reno's good, guys. It's supposed to be a tier 2 deck. So what is my problem here? Here's a card. This is the best control card there is. Alright, this is a pretty good heavy tempo card as well. It reloads your hand. Alright? In case you run out of value entirely, it reloads your hand. And you can keep going, basically, and battle your opponent. So if I wanted to, again, turn this heavy tempo deck into a control deck, a light control deck, I just add more Borklers, add some hand reloads, we're good to go. Add this shit, you know, that's a control card that does something. But you have to, like, know how to fucking put it into the deck. You can't just sit there. Zeddy wants to sit there like a fucking whale and expect other people to build control decks for him. You know, that's the expectation. Shit, bro. Zeddy, knock on the door. You know what Blizzard said? Expensive. We're gonna make shit more expensive. You can't be just whale 100%. You can't just buy all the, you know, signature diamond garbage cards. The most garbage thing ever invented in Hearthstone. Signature cards. I don't give a fuck about that shit. None of that shit. It just gets in the way. Signature cards, to me, they're still ugly. Because they just, like, they hide this text box. This is the most important part of the card. The text box. Me reading the card as quickly as possible. Signature cards is garbage. Do I have one? Of course. I have been forced to have one. Signature. Sigma mail card. What is this? Have I asked for this? Do I want art? No. I don't give a fuck about this. But holy shit. One thing that is pretty weird, and I'll give Zeddy the credit. Alright? Zeddy the credit. Warshak tends to play control decks. Fucking Warshak. He stopped doing that. Not a control deck, clearly, because turn 5 lethal's not supposed to exist. Not a control deck, because if you click this stupid freeze Death Knight,
very weird.
It doesn't have big cards.
Deck after playing.
It doesn't rely on big cards whatsoever. That means it's a very nasty, quick deck, just to deal damage phase. This is how you have to play, because if you don't play that way, then control decks start clearing your fucking board. You know, that's the metagame. We cracked the metagame. If we play too many minions, guess what happens, Eddie? Someone plays card, and all minions poof. Oh, we can't do that. We have to smash face over and over again. That's the best way to win the game right now. Because we don't want control decks to exist, because that shit is boring. So that's a hurdle number 3. You know, sit back and relax, enjoy the ride, you know? Who knows what's around the corner? So yeah, all the signature cards are ugly, and Zeddy's flexing that shit around, and I don't want to look at it. I never want to play with that. It's almost like those cards don't even exist to me. You know, I have this Kraken, and I'm like, where is he? Yeah, the whole time. I'm like, I have this card, I'm like, where is that card? At least it's not playable. Holy shit, in my collection, it just stands out so much that I fucking hate it. I don't want this shit. Alright? I don't want no diamond cards. I don't even want the golden cards, because that shit barely is different. I don't want none of this stuff. Alright? No cosmetics to me. I am a free-to-play player, but that's just a different perspective that we have. How fascinating. And I don't like control decks as a hurdle number 4. Why do I not like control decks? We're supposed to play a casual game. We're not supposed to sit down next to our computer and be like, oh, let's play a 30 minutes Hearthstone game where every single fucking decision matters. No one has time for that. Okay? No one showed to have time for that. Because again, all they want to do is play card and remove all your minions. No one has time to even put every single lifesteal minion to heal themselves back to full when, you know, all these damaged decks are running loose. So one way you can make a control deck, Zeddy, a little tipsy of how I would do it, you know, and hit legend with it, is something like this, some infinite weapon, but mostly like lifesteal. Come up with some kind of lifesteal hand buff nonsense, right? So you can't possibly die. And then you can play as many big cards as you fucking want. If you cannot die, all you have to do is just generate a bunch of armor, generate a win condition, and that's your control deck. If someone didn't figure it out, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just very expensive. It's very awkward to build this shit. And people just don't have time for it because every single fucking game lasts 30 minutes. So who knows how to build a control deck, because you're not going to win fast enough to figure it out. You know, if you're a really skilled player, you want to play aggro decks, but aggro decks that can do whatever the fuck you want. That's skill right there. So even fucking Warshak pivoted to low mana curve decks, which I did not expect. I have no idea how that happened. This is a control deck. Zeddy, you want to play a control deck? First of all, I have to subscribe to this channel. I don't know, man. This is where all my control knowledge comes from, because you have to know all the intricate, insane shit about Hearthstone. This is a hurdle number 5. You need to know some crazy shit about Hearthstone. A lot of facts to play control. You have to keep up, basically. I watched this video as sometimes like, whoa, what did he just do? You know? Because it's so unusual. It's a completely different dimension. Control decks are a different dimension where you doing the most complicated shit. Like, is this the game where he had to survive with a 23 lifesteal weapon against, I don't know, 20 Zilliaxes? Yeah, that's kind of weird. A normal person wouldn't be in this situation and wouldn't know what to do. But that's where, you know, drug addicts who play Hearthstone way too much end up doing. They play control because that's just a different dimension where crazy things happen and you wouldn't naturally know what to do. Wow. So he draws tests and he can just still keep up. He played Reno. How did he play Reno? No one would be able to answer this question right away. It's just a mystery. But he has a card that, you know, gives you a Reno. It's obvious for an experienced player where the fucking Reno comes from. Alright? He still lost because 20 Zilliaxes is a little bit too much. You know, the perfect module, you know, that nobody gives a fuck about because it's so perfect it cannot be nerfed. It's too perfect now. Also a control card is Zilliax. We're so lucky that so many control cards right now, so many super legendaries are pretty much free, are pretty much just neutral. So, we're actually kind of lucky. Anyone who had a chance to play Sire Denathrius has played a control deck, very likely. Here's my rendition of a control deck. Alexstrasza. You can play Alexstrasza. Yes, in 2024, I checked. You can play this card. And you can win games with this card. Wow. How does that work? Well, if you play control and you break your opponent, you smash your opponent and he falls down, this is the finishing blow. You have to figure out a finishing blow, and Alexstrasza just sounds like a good card that can do that. It is pretty sad that the game is way too weird for Alexstrasza to be a thing anymore. But this is how you would do it. You have OTK potential out of nowhere. You just have to weaken your opponent, drain their resources for long enough. Like Mind Control is a control card, because it has control in there. But it literally steals a minion. You just have to wait, and control decks can wait. Fascinating, but who would play Mind Control? Nobody would play Mind Control. Because we don't have time to test this shit. The game is too fast, and like, inventing control decks, it's so complicated. You also have to look at every single combo. And do I have to go to Retirement Helm and give Zeddy his little soup of control decks? Do I have to brew him control decks? Would he pay me to do so? You know? He probably can't even look my way, bro, this guy. But it's a different dimension completely of just crazy things happening. It's not really a metagame type of crazy, you know? That sort of shit has to get nerfed constantly, because that's the most outrageous stuff. Like, I don't like Brawl. I don't like so many brawls you can just keep playing over and over again. Like, what the fuck is wrong with that? How do you come up with this shit? It's the easiest cards to play, and that's the gameplay that Zeddy likes so much. What about the rest of the cards? What did the rest of the cards have to do? That's the hurdle number 6. The hurdle number 6 is synergies. Finding the synergies, finding the best synergies, is the most complicated thing to do in Hearthstone. No one can do it properly. No one can do it. Warshek is trying his best, and he's not even being mentioned. I don't give a fuck then. Alright? If you're not mentioning, like, influencers who make videos and actually show how the decks work, I don't give a fuck about his, rank 1 legend player that Zeddy cries about. Rank 1 legend player hits with a not control deck. They played the Paladin, but they played like a faster version of Paladin that does not play this card. Why? Why? Here's Zeddy, a big number. I know, it's crazy big number. 51% win rate is what you need to have to climb as fast as possible. The odds have to be in your favor. And you have to do it with speed. Yeah, you have to run towards top rank 1 legend, bro. I have not heard of a control deck being rank 1 legend. When was that? Give me the news, Zeddy. Give me the scoops. When was the last rank 1 legend that was a control deck? Because I think it was a few years ago. I don't know, man. Look, it's not supposed to be the reality. You can't do it. I already explained the same thing, but it just makes no sense to me. Of course, you're trying to squeeze value out of smaller and smaller cards. If you want to be a better player, you have to get the same result of 51% win rate with smaller cards that can do more things, that are more flexible in the game. What's the problem, by the way? Where is the problem? I'm so sorry, bro, that you cannot just leech top 1,000 legend players to find the best deck to play that you will definitely be able to just sit back and play card a bunch of times. And you don't have to think about anything. Not a single synergy, not a single future plan of what to do. I mean, I've seen Zeddy not play Elise for some reason. It says someone copies, and he just sits on Elise until there's no minions in the deck. Zeddy, what the fuck are you doing, Zeddy, bro? My mind just, I'm just like, I'm watching, have you actually played Control? Do you know how to squeeze value out of cards? What the fuck am I even watching? I'm watching a baby who pretends to play Control, but doesn't know what the fuck is going on in the game. Cannot define anything anymore. He's just crying a bunch of times. So let me just give a compilation of Zeddy crying. I'm done talking. This is all bullshit. We shouldn't trust Zeddy no more, because he's just kind of like, knocked out just by the changes of Hearthstone. He just was hoping that life was gonna be easy, as a whale. But guess what happens to the whale? Guess what fucking happened to the whale? Beached whale. Oh, new expansion, Zeddy! New expansion! I love this. This is the best. This is the picture of Zeddy that we were waiting for so long. The beached Zeddy. Oh, it's so satisfying. Where's my control deck? Make one that works. Good luck. Zeddy, that's what it takes. You have to make a control deck that works yourself. It's expensive, it takes a long-ass fucking time, and you can probably make one in a week. Maybe you can make one in a week that works. You can't just clear the fucking board over and over again anymore, Zeddy. I am so sorry, man. Oh my god, we have finally enough direct damage to fuck them in the ass, these control decks. Put them where they belong. In the trash. We finally have enough damage. And Zeddy is like, where did you get this damage? Why do I cry all the time? Wah! By the way, it looks like there's a dude there has been known as a Zeddy. You know, that 2-mana card from Paladin? It looks like this is the same guy. Is it not? That sits there and moans. Why did it beached? Why did my soul beached into the beach, bro? Because no one can afford to build decks for you. You know, no one is as royal as Mr. Zeddy, and no one even cares about playing control decks that much to be able to build that shit. If you want to play control, you can still, I imagine, play some kind of Odin warrior. But it's very difficult to build one now. Also, no new cards have been invented. I don't know. Again, my best choice is like Death Knight. Hand buff Death Knight that heals a bunch of times. Because one of the most powerful control cards is not a 10-drop, it's a 3-drop. Yeah, crazy, I know. The world has changed. It's an 8-drop eventually, Zeddy. It's an 8-drop. You just have to play this once. Just like Astalor, you know? Astalor is also technically an 8-drop for a control deck. You just have to play the card. I know, it's very weird. You have not done it enough times, it seems. But if you play this card, then you get the big version. Then you can play it again and discover whatever control tool you want. You discovered those things usually, Zeddy. Yes. Unbelievable. So, hurdle number 7, 3-drop is a control card. 4-drop is a control card too. There's so many control cards. Hell yeah! Oh my god, that's a control card. It's a 4-drop though. Zeddy wouldn't understand what that means. What is a 4-drop? That technically a control card because you get more health. That's what it's all about. You know, surviving. Very much control card because for the rest of the game. It says for the rest of the game. So you upgrade yourself for the rest of the game. Can you do it fast enough? Can you do it reliably? That's up to you to figure out how to do it. How to squeeze those effects. Again, when the metagame is aggressive, control cards are very difficult to build because they will get countered by aggression. That's hurdle number 8. You have to know what the metagame is about. And if the metagame does not want control decks to exist, they will not exist. Alright? Zeddy will be bullied, and he will be like, what's going on, guys? What's going on? We're bullying Zeddy right now. That's what's going on. Alright? We have all decided, collectively, connected our brain cells of like, what if we bully Zeddy right now? That's what we decided. Right? And he has to just suck it up. This is the best control card. No, this is the best control class. Death Knight is the best control class. Not card. Prime is not card. The reason why people don't play Control Warlock is because it's not a good control class. That's it, Zeddy. Problem solved. But Sargeras is so good, yeah. He's still good. Right, I know. Who would have thought that I would not concede when Sargeras gets played? I would concede immediately. Luckily, Sargeras doesn't heal your hero at least. Thank God. That's another difference, you know. Guess what this card does? It heals. So apparently, there's a problem where people need healing all the time. I wonder what that problem is, Zeddy. That's crazy. I wonder what Primus can do that Sargeras cannot do. And Warlock doesn't even want to do. So he brings up Sargeras and cries about it, not realizing that Warlock kills itself instead of actually playing heals or whatever, right? It doesn't even care. It just kills itself. And right now we use tourist mechanic in the cheesy way to just find more damage. That's how it feels like to me. All the tourists are just trying to find more damage. I'm tired. I'm tired of just, you know, all the Borklers being played in one deck and we just slap of like control label. Yes, I know Borklers are very powerful cards. It would be nice though if the game wouldn't just revolve around Borklers, because it exposes a control deck is not supposed to play Borklers, it's supposed to play the most powerful cards, but the most powerful cards are Borklers, so we end up in the cycle of playing Borklers and slapping a control deck on top. A label of a control deck. That's what it is. That's how Hearthstone is now working. Like, Borklers got stronger and stronger and stronger, and people getting fucking tired of it. The moment we can stop and start countering Borklers, we were gonna do that. We're gonna conspire against Zeddy, in the fun way to put it, you know. But in general, we just don't want to play against Borklers and lose. That's not the point of the game. The point of the game is to actually like have ability to win and win against all the stupidity that can be generated out of people's asses. I don't know what's so sad about it, but I hope I explained myself. So now let's listen with this context. Let's listen to Zeddy and how much he's crying. Let me show the compilation of Zeddy crying. Because he doesn't fucking understand nothing anymore. He doesn't know what to listen to. He's just blind whale beached. So sad.
With the brand.
Do chigs dig a beached whale? I don't know, man. I haven't seen one in his room yet. Someone has to put a female in the, you know, empty space that he has. At least he has that much. Holy shit, a female fits here. Guys, we have to use whatever we can right now. Maybe his beard counters female existence in his room, but holy shit, we have to do whatever it takes, guys.
Brand new video.
We don't know.
And talk to this card.
Dr. Boom! Guess what, Zeddy? Guess what, Zeddy? You play one of a kind like this, and maybe you can squeeze Ragnaros in there. Maybe you can squeeze another big card. Back in the day, we played like 3 big cards. Back in Hearthstone, when it existed, we couldn't even afford still all those big cards. We played 3 copies of that shit. Even back in the day, like, it was that. And right now we can just discover giant cards constantly and play much longer games too. He forgot that part of how long the game lasts. It doesn't fucking matter to him, right? Yeah, you can play Ragnaros, you can play like Alex to heal yourself or some bullshit like that. Some people play Malagos as a control card, genuinely. Some people play Sierra back in the day. This is a tempo card, this is my favorite. It's very powerful. Dr. Boom, bro. Okay, where's the 8-mana card that people played? If he cares about going back to the past, especially GVG, where's that 8-mana card from GVG, bro? Because he just shows Dr. Boom, and then it's like, where's the next control card? The next control card is Faux Reaper. Nobody played Faux Reaper, but if you can play Faux Reaper, if you can, and it doesn't get removed, if you safely play Faux Reaper, you gonna obliterate your opponent. Because it's a Borkler. It's exclusive card. Have people figure out how to play Faux Reaper? I don't think so. It's very complicated. But if you could, you would do pretty well. Maybe if you can protect this behind a bunch of tones. That's why people said it's a good card, because shit, the only thing you need is a bunch of tones, and your opponent can't play half of the cards in their hand to just remove this thing. Not easy. You might be able to win this, but it takes a lot of research to find out What is the way you can play these cards that have incredible value? People just play this because it's easy. You just like, you play it. That's why they played it. So you vomit a card on the board, so sometimes Sneeds shows up. But that's it. That's your big card, Zeddy. People play 7 drops, guys. I don't know. It's just, they just play 7 drops. It's just normal. They have to discover most of the time a 7 drop. But they play it. I don't know what Zeddy's crying about. We don't play 7 drop like Dr. Boom was this cool 7 drop. Wah. What the fuck, man? That's fucked up.
Card over.
He starts with the most fucked up thing. Even this, like, the best card is Emperor because we want to play more cards, not just like giant fucking garbage. Nobody can play Nefarian because Nefarian doesn't do anything. And that was still the same complaint of like the big card has to do something, so they made it do something. They made it, the Blizzard developers made it do something, so big cards are now easier to play than ever before. Like, big cards are so easy to play in recent times that I hate them now. Insane. They are insane now. You play card after card after card. The only thing you have to do is discover those fucking cards a bunch of times, figuring out how to squeeze infinite value out of your deck, infinite lifesteal, and you have a control deck. Where's the problem? I don't understand. Where the fuck is the problem? And nobody, again, wants to play control decks and waste their time pretending that they're gonna climb with that shit. No one can do that. So people are trying to counter so the control decks don't even exist in the metagame. Everyone climbs super fast. And, you know, actually test each other's skills. Whatever Zeddy's crying about is the most degenerate thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry, bro. Major Dorm. You didn't even got control cards. None of this shit is a control. That's the most control card there is. You have to play it, put it down, and make sure that it survives. Not easy thing to do. I'm not gonna lie. Not only survives, but you have to draw a fucking card as many times as possible and put it in your hands. Meaning that you have to have a fairly empty hand. We didn't get control cards back in the day, so I don't know what the fuck Zeddy's crying about. He just showed 1 card. Had he tried to show a second card, would be pretty fucking difficult, right? There's nothing as iconic as Dr. Boom. Is that your control card, by the way? I don't think so. I don't think this is a control card. Yes! I don't think it's a control card. It's just a very, very, very good, juicy tempo card. It is not control card. So even the Zeddy's first example is not even a control card, bro. It's just a big card. Yeah. Great that you can play. But that's not your control card. That's not your typical control card. A typical control card does what I said it does. You put it down and you try to squeeze value out of it constantly. And that value has to actually matter. And the game has to continue where the value matters. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You put a card down and it constantly generates value. Now it's simplified for Zeddy for the rest of the game. Play for the rest of the game card, Zeddy, and you're good. You have a control deck. You just have to activate the for the rest of the game effect. How fucking difficult is that? I don't understand, bro. I don't understand. This is the easiest shit.
To be
And so far we're just failing 10 seconds in. And I can't stop ranting, bro.
so good, people. It is a start.
Yeah. It's fascinating, like, Zeddy can appear completely sane of a person, but he's just a house of cards at this point. He's just so degenerate to the way he thinks. Like, I can't relate to any of this shit anymore when I break it down.
Scary.
I'm just saying, but let's finish this off as quickly as possible, because it will take so much time to watch a 10-minute video that triggers the shit out of me.
That plus more than 5 mana are worth playing anymore. Except
Play these cards, Zeddy. Play these cards. This will summon a 7-drop. Most guaranteed. Maybe you can plan yourself. Maybe you can put a big card into ETC. I don't know, man. ETC. I don't even play with ETC. The hurdles are so hardcore with control decks. I don't play ETC. I should play ETC in every fucking deck. Simply because it offers you more options of what your deck can perform. What kind of combos, synergies, and counters it can perform. I don't play this card because it takes too much fucking time to build a deck with this. It's the most obvious thing to me. It's the most obvious. But now we found a clueless beached whale just flapping for his life.
Exceptions are his late game decks basically non-existent.
Anytime a late game deck existed, it was the biggest scam and the most outrageous thing that I complain about every fucking time. Finally, there's a way to counter these fucking garbage decks. And that's what people are doing. Naturally. Naturally, people are doing what I hated the most. I hated seeing card after card. I hated seeing Odin Warrior. I definitely hated seeing Ziliax Warrior and Druids, and everyone hated it, you know? So they want to counter this sort of behavior so it doesn't happen again. You can still build these decks. It's not the end of the world. Absolutely not. But who's going to do it
Troll
for
seems
you,
to
man?
be crazy, but
I have went into fatigue. I have quickly put together a control deck. So you can refine the list. I've played this weird shit. And I immediately went to fatigue with this. This barely has minions. You know? If you can go to fatigue, that means you control it. Play Stars Align. That's a control card. Funny enough. Because it generates so much value. It reloads your hand. That's the whole point. You just have to figure out where to get minions from, because I don't run any of them. I just slapped together some deck, and it started controlling my opponents. And it was kind of cool. Now, do I play big cards visibly? Not really. But there's Proto Drake. It summons a bunch of dragons to your hand. Sometimes dragon is small, sometimes dragon can be big. I know, that's pretty crazy. But just because Zeddy cannot find big cards in the deck, that's not a reason to fucking cry about it. Like, what?
that a lot
It's the most surface layer shit of, like, we're big card ads.
as we're on the road. Breakdown
It looks just like HS Replay, but regardless, I will use this ugly looking Excel sheet.
of the decks. There's not really aggro decks, like traditional aggro decks.
Cool. Traditional aggro deck, pirate. Just vomit a bunch of pirates. Traditional aggro deck, pirate shaman. That's as traditional as it fucking gets. Remember Pirate Warrior? The pirate vomiting piece of shit warrior? That was an aggro deck. Is as traditional as it gets. So he is wrong again in the most outrageous fucking way. I can't believe it, bro. How can you do so many wrong things? How is it not the most traditional thing? The pirate aggro bullshit. Especially when it dominated Wilds with Pirate Rogue for so long. To this day, pretty much. How is it not traditional enough for you? What is he talking about? I don't understand nothing, bro.
There's mid-range to be found, or
Barely. I don't even know what I'm looking at, because not only control decks don't exist, but everything else is weird, you know? All of a sudden. What happened to you, Zeddy? You took brain damage and it started spreading all the way? Holy crap, man. Nothing is traditional anymore, guys. You can play Overheal Priest. For fuck's sake. That is the craziest thing. You wouldn't even want traditional shit. if you can play Overheal Priest, that's the coolest thing ever. I would want to play that. This sounds like a cool metagame. It's all good, bro. What is Rainbow Shaman? So how does the... Oh, it has a problem, of course. It's always a problem with Zeddy. I don't even know how you fix it, but maybe it's not a fucking problem then, if you can't fix it. This is getting crazy. That's how he presents the whole thing. It's so crazy, man. I am too slow. Definitely not too slow. But also too slow. Because, like, you don't want to play a slow game and be bored most of the time. That's what people want to do in the game, not be bored. So far, I don't see the problem. He was not able to show the problem whatsoever.
Barely talk about
combo decks.
out.
Shut the fuck up about combo decks. You don't understand anything about combo decks. It's the biggest torture. We should pray every single time we say a combo decks. Traditional combo decks. You want... The moment people can play a good combo deck is the worst thing. Zeddy complains about immediately. A sharpshooter? No, please nerf. All these combo decks. You know, lightning shaman, nature shaman, please nerf. That's what happens, I understand. Like, that is the craziest shit ever. You don't want combo decks to be good. No one wants that either. So far I don't see a problem. Where's the problem, Zeddy?
Talked a lot about
Try to find a problem in those 10 minutes. One tiny problem.
class. It could play good early game.
What is a hand buff paladin? He says. I already explained that. I already answered. Is heavy tempo. Tempo for me is mid-range, but I simplified tempo. Tempo means you take over the board for as long as possible. You wither away all those aggro decks because they try to temporarily take the board. I take the board as long as I can and keep generating value from the board. Or I can play cards like Painter's Virtue, something that cannot be removed even, and then keep generating value from the board, technically, by attacking with this weapon over time. That's how I do it. That's how I win games. But I also need this, something to be able to plug into the board to protect myself, because shit is crazy out there. I have to have mana cheating cards to protect myself. I have dance floor in this deck? That's weird.
Be able to so much.
You can't define decks like you were able to do. How do you define decks, Zeddy? How?
Insane openers, but it's not an aggro deck. Is it a mid-range deck?
What?
An aggro deck to you so much in the old days. Another example, Frost Death Knight. Is that an aggro deck? It can have some insane openers.
Again, heavy tempo almost looks like a control deck, but it's also trying to have openers. Just like I've told you, I'm trying to have openers, but I also have like these big legendaries to do things with. Alright? Also like combo, I have everything in here. It's heavy tempo. I try to survive the early game by all means necessary, because I will probably win the late game too. That's the whole point of the deck. So, what deck is he talking about? Frost Death Knight? You mean Corpsicle Death Knight? That one? So, he wants to know, what is this? Is this it's an aggro deck, bro. It's aggro. It used to always be aggro deck. What's your problem, Zeddy? It was always aggro deck with this shit. You negate your opponent's board so they can't do shit. And you keep just withering them down with just damage. If it deals damage to your opponent's face constantly, that's an aggro deck that has a bunch of reach cards. How do you cannot define that shit? I don't understand, bro. You cannot traditionally define things. How does Zeddy define things? Now I'm just like curious. Everything makes no sense. That Zeddy said, like, it's a generic aggro deck that we played against before. Like, we played against Frost Death Knight before. How did all of a sudden Zeddy forgot how Frost Death Knight works? What the fuck is happening, guys? What is happening? How much brain damage can we get from a dude with that many subscribers? How much brain damage can we actually squeeze out of this video? Because so far, everything he says is wrong. Everything he's saying. He's not educated enough. Whatever he's talking about, he doesn't understand what he's talking about.
Aggro deck? What the heck is that? It's like...
Do you? It's a reverse board clear, Zeddy. What is that? I used to just play card that clears my opponent's board, but I actually filled my board. Wow, never been done before. It has been done before. Does that remind you of anything? In fact, Druids knows how to reverse board clear all the time. This is why it's almost like a very good control deck, because it doesn't rely on board clears, and it relies on reverse board clears, on filling your own board. Dragon Golem, that was pretty good, heavy tempo deck. You know, heavy tempo also defined as a tempo deck that can generate a bunch of value, so it can keep up and just keep vomiting shit onto the board until maybe you win, maybe that happens. So yeah, that's a control card, because you're playing some fucking big ass vomit in there. This is a control card. Control, but you can squeeze it into heavy tempo because it's a very good card. It has taunt. It fills the board. It can be a finisher, like Scenarios can technically be a finisher, but nobody wants to play that no more. But this can still be played in like heavy tempo, I imagine. You just fill the board with bigger minions, then you buff that shit, and you got it, bro. Like, play this. This is a heavy tempo card. This does the same thing as Razzle Dazzle. This is not a new card. What the fuck Zeddy's saying here? It's not a new card. It's a control card because it holds a lot of value. That's your Dr. Boom. He literally shows Dr. Boom, then shows Razzle Dazzle, which is pretty much the, power crept version of Dr. Boom, and he's like, herp derp, I don't understand what I'm looking at anymore. What the fuck is wrong with you, bro? It's Dr. Boom! For 6 mana. It's just power crept version, bro.
Deck, although it can push like damage.
It's not OTK deck. It can push 20 damage because it's an aggro deck. Of course it can push 20 damage. That's what aggro decks do. Like, what the fuck is he confused about? It's almost he woke up and it's like, I can't, where's my, what control deck do I play? Oh, I can't play control deck, let's complain instead. Second priority list on a priority list thing. Let me play control decks or complain. What is the third thing on your priority list? Because 2 of these things don't work no more. So let's see how deep Zeddy can go. Let's pull his pants down. So entertaining. I know everyone's entertained when I shit on Zeddy. Look, we barely survived 3 minutes. He already said like 4 wrong things that just make my blood boil.
If you got
it's funny to me because it's sad. Sometimes in life, you see a sacrificial person who just rolls in the deep, just says all the wrong things, and you have to help him like a little fucking grandpa. Oh, Grandpapa Zeddy, what's wrong? I can't cross the street anymore. He has decided. He obviously can. He's not a piece of shit human being who can't do nothing, but he really wants help. He really wants some sanity for himself, because he's an old man now. Old man Zeddy, rolling in the deep. Can't find his, dentures or whatever the teeth are. He just can't find it in the dark, man. He's looking for it everywhere. His glasses, his dentures, his beards to put it on his face. He's a crippled old man now that's asking for way too much help, it seems like. Who knows what's going on? I hate it when it happens, bro. I hate it when people are helplessly wrong.
For combo, and regardless, you're looking through the decks. Overheal Priest can function as a combo deck, a mid-range deck.
Oh, it can function as a combo deck and a mid-range deck? That's crazy. It has never been done before. First of all, it's a tempo deck. Yeah. That has combos in there to be able to deal damage to face. I know. This is how you win games, Zeddy. It's crazy. I know. Sometimes minions are not good enough, so you have to have reach. You have to be able to do face damage. That's what Paladin is also trying to do with charge minions. It's trying to deal a lot of face damage, Zeddy. I want to teach you how to play tempo decks. You can't just play minions and win the game in this stupid fucking game. You have to have reach. You have to be able to piece together a combo over time, something to be able to deal damage, something unique in your deck that doesn't define your deck. You all never gonna necessarily rely on just combo. With Overheal Priest, you probably can rely because Priest can like select which minion to draw from the deck and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. I want to see how it works, but you know, I'm not excited about Hearthstone when influencers act like this. And when the game fucking sucks, because I'm probably on a different dimension where I'm still getting hurt by all these control decks that exist, and everyone plays them where I am. You know, where I am on the ladder, this legend rank, but not really. This is where all the control decks are. I don't know, 70% of the decks are control that I'm playing against. I constantly play against warrior back in the day. To the point I'm crying, bro. I'm dying inside. Now there's Death Knight control archetypes. Control is everywhere. Everyone wants to play control. Doesn't matter where's the best deck. You know, because there's a lot of variety when it comes to smaller decks. You can build more variety decks. With control decks, you can maybe build 3 and test them if they're good or not, and if they're not good enough, what's the point, right? You stop testing them. That's technically hurdle number 8. If one control deck is bad, people just give up, you know? There's not enough patience for this shit.
Deck as a combo deck, a mid-range deck, as a control deck, just bringing Amanthal back over and over.
Yeah, it's 2 combos basically. In a tempo, it forks itself out. It tries to do reach and tries to do control. Seems fair to me. That's just what heavy tempo does. It seems heavy tempo if you want to play Amanthal. There's probably a quicker version of Overheal Priest as well. But because Titans are so fucking broken, if you can resummon a Titan, of course. Yeah, I've seen that shit before. Here you go. Yeah. And guess which thing you do? You just remove enemy minions, that's it. It's not enough just to summon Amanthal. It has to have removal to be able to be summoned alongside with enemy minion. It should have been nerfed a long time. All these Titans. But wow, it's a control card. It's whatever then. And of course, if you can resummon it over and over again. Yeah, basically we have as tempo decks. Tempo decks showed up, right? And they have tools. They have genuine tools to be able to assemble a combo to finish the opponent. This is the finisher move. And every deck needs to have that to be able to perform properly. They need a finishing move of some kind. Just Paintbrush is not enough. If you can have charge minions, that's great. Then you have the aggro finishing move. What is the control finishing move, though? Oh, it's nothing. You just wait it out, I guess. Outvalue your opponent. That's your finishing move. It's very slow. Even control decks have to create a combo inside their hands to be able to deal a lot of damage. That's what Odin Warrior was trying to do. And you can't just say it's a combo deck, right? Then I would be confused of like, what is this Odin Warrior thing? I could say the same thing. What is this combo deck with Odin Warrior, with Brand Warrior? What is this combo deck, guys? It's the same thing.
Right? Priest was never really supposed to do
Class identity? That's your problem? He's just constantly crying right now of like, oh my god, so many people have secret OTKs. Oh, is it sharpshooter again? Is it very sad moment in time? Because that's how it's supposed to be. You know, that's what people have researched to be able to build together. That's how it all works, man. So, I mean, the way he introduced Insanity Warlock to me right now, it feels, yeah, that's a tempo that deals a lot of damage. Is it aggro tempo though? I don't know.
much.
Because technically there's control tempo, right? And there's these OTK tempo things that you can assemble a lot of damage and play a little bit faster because you can assemble a lot of damage. I'll show you the most old school card there is. Alright, when it comes to... Where is it? When it comes to, like, Tempo OTK, there is Savage Roar, right? That's the most basic Tempo OTK there ever was. There's Bloodlust. This is the most basic thing. Zeddy could have seen that 10 years ago and figured out what it is. And now, 10 years later, he still doesn't know. What have you been doing, Zeddy, for 10 years?
Really present. Everything can do everything.
Oh no! A finisher exists on a deck. Everything can do everything now. Everything has to do the right thing to be able to win the game. Not everything.
Had to lose.
Oh no, power creep, guys. Killing control decks, because of course, every time something bad happens in Hearthstone, it's power creep.
Card draw. Really no point in playing those late game conditions.
No, that's how you play it. You play infinite amount of cards. That's how you play it. That's your win condition late game. Like, the way to build a control deck, you pick up a tempo deck. Surely I have one. Surely. But I did that. Again, I picked a tempo deck, and I squeezed the few heavier cards in there. That's the wrong one. It's the Legendary Paladin. You get what I mean, bro. And again, every time you find a little piece of combo that gives you a lot of value, like mining, how to mine faster, that's also gonna turn into a control deck, potentially. You just have to squeeze a bunch of Borklers, a bunch of, like, heavy hitting things. As long as you survive the early game consistently, because that's the hardest part. Like, it's very complicated now surviving the early game. Just giant cards stuck in your hands. You have to discover those giant cards. You can't just fucking have them laying around in your hand doing nothing. That's a hand slot space that's doing nothing, just waiting its turn. You can't do it. So your control win condition has to be discovered most of the time, instead of actually being in your deck. That's another confusing thing, but it's not a problem.
And look at, like, from the
Hearthstone has a problem nobody's talking about, except me, the Zeddy problem. Thank you guys for watching. No, we still 6
tier
minutes.
1 and tier 2 decks.
We just 6 minutes of outrage, just stuff.
How many cards, shockingly,
how many cards cost more than 5 mana, guys? How many Dr. Booms can we find?
low amount of cards.
So low. Holy crap.
And have to
Frostmourne. Yes, you still play this. It's still a metagame defining card. Hollowhound is metagame defining. Alright, let's answer his stupid fucking question. How many cards? 7 or above. How many of them playable? Okay, Primus. This one's a finisher for a reason. Because it's a big good card. It probably can be a control deck, but it can be because it's triple frost, so it has to adhere to the rules of triple frost. So it cannot be a control deck. Alright, that's fine. This is still capable of making a... He just talked about it. There's Blood Death Knight, some bullshit like that. This is every Titan is playable, by the way. Because they're fucking broken. Again, they are playable cards. They have been seen many, many times. These big minions. Normally, they usually are bad. They're just bad. They're poorly designed. They're not powerful enough to be played at all. Let alone, just like Lady Liadrin. That sort of stuff, where they cannot be played. Big cards cannot be played. Nobody plays Therian anymore. You just discover that shit. But that's not a problem. That's just like old school cards are absolute garbage now. But everything else seems like an interesting card. You would want to play this. This seems like a lot of value. I don't know. Especially if you can extend this aura thing. But again, building these decks, control deck, super complicated. Doesn't mean that these cards are not playable. Jesus. Oh no, it's unplayable. That's crazy. Yeah, these ones are kind of weak, actually. Priests, heavy cards, these are not exactly that, but with this, you can, generate a bunch of big cards in your hands. Again, you don't need to have big cards in Rogue Arsenal. You just discover that shit from other classes. Shaman has a lot of big, cool cards. This is good. This is still good if you can generate it. This is good. Yeah, as long as you can... This is very good. This is one of the best staple control cards there is. Nobody's playing it. That's their problem. You know? It's not easy to build these decks. But that's how control actually looks like. Control does not look like a fucking Borkler. Control looks like infinite value, basically. Spread across your entire deck. That's the most staple thing you can find as a control card. And for the rest of the game effects, all that shit. As I've explained.
Pretty nuts.
So yeah, it's kind of weird that a lot of cards above 5 mana are being played. Because they're very properly designed to be played. They're very powerful cards. That's what's going on.
Too slow. Doesn't...
No, too slow. Are you sure, Zeddy?
See play.
Are you sure?
In the...
How do you know? I know because it doesn't see play. Okay.
Meta taunts, there's no...
Nobody's talking about, right? Wow, Zeddy is so unique. He just found a problem. No, he just woke up one day. Oh, I can't play my favorite control deck. Or whatever. I can't find a control deck to play. And it's... Oh, that's a problem nobody's talking about. Are you sure about that, though, Zeddy? Of that's also a problem. Even that is a problem. The way he worded this thing, who's supposed to talk about? Who talks about Hearthstone problems in the first place? You know, is everyone supposed to cry like a baby of oh, where's my board? A board everyone talks about, but there's this specific thing where I want to play a specific deck. That's what people don't talk about. It's that's not a surprise to me, to be honest. Nobody even talked about Odin Warrior being a problem. Because who's supposed to talk about it? I would be talking about this. You know, I'm a smart person enough to figure out what metagame is super fucking toxic to the game.
Root card or...
So yeah, when he says that, my question, who do you think's supposed to be talking about problems like these? Because these are higher level problems that NPCs definitely not going to talk about. So what other influencers talk about problems like these? Of oh, I can't play this sort of archetype. No one understands what the fuck you're talking about, first of all. Because they're even dumber than Zeddy. Imagine that. Imagine being dumber than Zeddy, but that's 90% of Hearthstone population who can't even keep up with everything at all. I can keep up with everything. I've been around, guys. I've been glued to my computer, all right? And I'm in better shape than Zeddy. And in better shape than Zeddy. And way smarter. By all means. I can put that down too, because I program my own shit. I will quit Hearthstone because I'll make my own card game. That's how it goes.
I guess Reska for 0.
No, it's not zero. It says 20, Zeddy. You have to read. It's 20.
Mana. Pretty effective.
Literally next to it, it's a control deck. Plague Death Knight. It has been around forever. It's still playable. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's right there. It's just people don't want to play it because it's not a new deck. Alright? That's a control deck too. And it probably is pretty good too. And that's the thing that you discount. You discount the Chain Giant, but it doesn't always come down for 0 mana. Alright? You have to actually genuinely play. This one is not genuine. This one is just a broken fucking card that will never get nerfed because it says 20. And Blizzard is gonna always shove a middle finger down my face. Up my face. So that's all I see. Because, look, but it's 20 mana. Okay, let's figure out how often Rescue is played for 0 mana. And how often... Is it more often than Rescue being played for 1 or above amount for 4 mana? So Blizzard should show us a little bit of a, a chart. Is Rescue being played for 0 mana exclusively or for a little bit of mana? At least. I want to know that statistic. Very interesting to me. Because if this is a 0 mana, just mind control, man, we have a problem.
Effective.
That's still not a problem, though, because Zeddy is talking about something else entirely. Alright?
I don't think they did how broken this card felt and people want this nerf.
What? I don't remember.
Fruit is
Demon Hunter does not play control. Shut the fuck up, Zeddy.
the accepts of the cards don't see play these days. It's just this.
Again, big cards are very difficult to play. You can only play like 2-3 big cards. You can squeeze 5 into control deck. They do see play though. Back in the day, however, it was very difficult to play big cards. Remember this guy? It's so funny. Is there a big cards in Goblin versus Gnomes? Show me big card. Oh, it's so easy. Everyone played Gazrilla back in the day, Everyone played Tree of Life, of course. Yeah, everyone played Leviathan. It was so good. Everyone played Neptulon. Everyone played big cards. Everyone played Mulliganas. I don't. What the fuck is he talking about? But people are genuinely playing Eonar, right? They genuinely play big cards right now. Where's the problem, dude? And if Zeddy wants to talk differently than just Goblins versus Gnomes, which expansion exactly? Alright? How about a favorite expansion on Goro? Alright, let's look at it. Which big card do you want to play, Zeddy? Probably neither. Probably just a Borgler. And maybe some fucking weird combo thing from this. There's not a single card that you can even play that's big. Oh, maybe this was played a little bit. It's the funniest shit ever. To me. Ooh, Tyrantus. It had to be buffed to be playable. It barely seen play because there's even barely any cards here that are big. What? These are cool, but again, 6 drops are popular, especially class 6 drops. But these ones, like, they're not gonna see ladder play, like, for sure. Barely. And again, barely being printed because they're just very risky cards. So Blizzard figured out, they broke through that if you make 6 drops and 7 drops broken as fuck, then they're gonna be played. But no, Zeddy's like, oh, they're so broken, why are they not being played? They are. Now they are being played. More than ever before.
Much mana.
And that's it. That's where it ends. That's all the big cards storyline ends, because I don't want to see card a turn. One card being played a turn. That's where we are right now in Hearthstone. That's why I'm quitting Hearthstone. Because one card is being played a turn. I am quitting Hearthstone for exactly the reason that Zeddy says it's a problem. Oh, I can't just play big card all the time. You know? Yes, you can. And that's why I quit Hearthstone.
A hunter.
That's the reason I quit Hearthstone, bro. Wake up. Wake the fuck up.
They are just a
They just try to make this...
broken it.
So he's waking up to the fact that we only play Titans, we only play Colossals. Yeah. That's how it works now.
Absolutely
You have to just deal with it now.
awesome.
That's just what they printed. That's just what we have. It's a Titan, but there's not a lot of other cards. You know? You can have Spell, like, who cares about Spell? We can play a minion that does things. And we can choose which effect to take. It has stats and it has 3 effects to choose from. Of course it's gonna be better than some Spell. You know? What do you expect?
Mage card that to
The most fucking disgusting card I've ever seen. Razzle dazzles me.
what's going on, right? This doesn't even
Oh man, it's so insane.
give you something unless you've cast a sample of just how hilarious things are getting.
This is where I have mentioned this.
And in Wild how bad it's got, a paladin.
Hmm? Yeah, look at all the stuff. These are counter cards. These are the weirdest shit ever. A dude found a way to counter his opponents with cheap cards. I mean, I applaud. And Amethyst does not counter much at all. Very cool. Did this guy said specifically that Amethyst is too slow? That Amethyst is unplayable in this deck? No, he just decided, I think. Who knows, right? Let's hear it, I guess. But Zeddy just assuming things as well. Like, oh, Amethyst cannot be played. Amethyst is hard to test in decks like these, bro. But all of these weird cards, they make no sense, by the way, in the deck. Most people wouldn't actually even play these. This is a weird deck, and Zeddy does not even address how weird this deck is and what it actually does. He never even had a chance to talk about it, but he's bringing it up as an example of like what's going on. Of like, oh, rank 1 legend, tempo player does not even play Amethyst because he chose to lean on the aggressive side and counter side. The weirdest, this is weird. This is weird. This is where I'm like, what? What is this deck? Because I cannot define this deck. I have never seen this before. But Zeddy's like, oh, this is going to be my example. Everything pisses me off, bro.
Paladin. He cut this card. It was too slow.
He cut this card. So yeah, he's specifically telling that, yeah, he knows the dude. The dude whispered into his ear. That means we play every single tech card. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go, bro. That's kind of lovely. Why would you cut a card that wins games? Too slow, man. That's kind of bullshit. Maybe he just didn't figure out how to play the damn card. Because this seems like Desperado as well. Play every tech card just to counter some kind of rogue thing. Again, in top 1000 Legend, it's a whole different dimension again. Not only control decks are different dimension, but top 1000 Legend players are in a different dimension. They have to play against each other. And they have to counter each other. They have to put each other in the miserable spot. We're like, oh, I expected this to happen, but it didn't happen. just catch each other off guard. And that's the way they can reach higher legend. Top 1000 legend should never be an example of what's happening across a Hearthstone. For fuck's sake. That's like staring at the sun and pretending that you're becoming smarter by, you know, liquidating your eyes into a different substance, you know. I'm just liquidating my eyes. Oh, cool. Will you be able to use your eyes anymore? No, who fucking needs eyes? That's how stupid and weird Top 1000 Legend is, and I always complained when Zeddy brings out of like, here's the Top 1000 Legend decks. Viable. No, these are fucking weird decks that are very difficult to learn how to play. And you're countering other Legend players that play specific strategies too. Who even knows? Who can even document this shit properly? It's too complicated. You know? Like, I will never be a Top 1000 Legend player. I will never be able to document what's going on up there. I just know the closer I get there, the more shit I watch of top 1000 Legend, my brain starts melting. I don't even know what the fuck they're doing anymore. They're playing sometimes OTK decks, combo decks that, like, I cannot play at all. I can't win with those decks. Like, they're pulling some shit off that I could never do. They should never be held as an example of what's going on to the game. It's like, oh my god, Top 1000 Legend reached by cutting Amethyst. Are you sure that's how they won the game? Are you sure Amethyst is completely useless? I don't know. I don't think so.
Too slow. Example.
What a crazy example, though. How convincing that is, bro. Oh my god, he didn't play Amethyst.
In Wild, how back it lost a row.
What is this supposed to be an example of?
3 or less.
I mean, yeah, Wild sucks.
In Guerrero, like,
but that's where the game goes into with power creep. Technically, Zeddy is correct by going this direction. It does seem normal that when the game gets power crept, smaller and smaller cards make bigger and bigger impacts. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And technically, that's your control card, Zeddy. What this guy is playing, these are counter cards, right? But this is as control as you can get with low mana curve. This is still control cards. Funny enough, this is what I'm thinking. They're just low mana curve, but they counter the opponent. You still have to think of like what the metagame is about. What are you countering? All that shit. Because when you play this sort of stuff, you don't actually know unless you're genius, you don't actually know how many cards in what way you're countering. You have to be so fucking genius to play this shit. It's not being addressed. I've never seen this before, bro. This is the most weirdest post. It has nothing to do with Amethyst at all. You should not use an example when another anomaly is in the fucking room. When there's an elephant in the room, I'm like, oh, but look at all these Cheetos, bro. Look at all these Cheetos. Nobody's eating Cheetos. There's a fucking elephant in the room. He will crush your fucking skull if you're not careful enough. I don't give a fuck about Cheetos, bro. Grab those Cheetos and run. You piece of shit. They're free. You know, they're on the house. There's a fucking elephant that can crush you right now. Jesus Christ. This is how delusional this thing is. Outrageous. But it makes for good content, for React content, guys. Best React content ever on my channel.
We're good.
I don't want to draft late game in arena and I get punished.
You get punished, whether it's a reverb.
I play Elder Scrolls Legends, same thing happens. Exactly same thing happens. You don't want to play big cards unless they're genuinely not removable, like this. Alright? They have to be genuine big battle cries that do something pretty decent, you know, and that's great.
Cheap.
I play Stitch and So, and it got removed It got transformed constantly. Yeah, because that's what you have to do in Arena. You have to defend yourself against big threats. That's just the metagame of Arena. Is that a problem to you, Zeddy? I can't play big minions anywhere. Yes, you can. You just have to threaten with smaller minions first. Then you get all the removals out of the way. Your opponent uses all the removals. And then you can play big minion out of nowhere. Crazy, I know. You would never think of that strategy, Zeddy, because you're kind of weird. But that's just how you do it. You don't have too many big minions because you can't reliably squeeze value out of them. It is pretty weird example because I wouldn't think this would constantly happen. Also, I don't give a fuck about Arena that much. But I can see it happening. I'm just like, how can he be hexed all the time?
Ever going to go off, and I had an Arena run again. Lately, I drafted Dr. Stitch, and so I played it 7 times. Not once did the death rattle go off. It got silenced, hexed, transformed, whatever.
Silenced in Arena. I would want to see footage of that. Why no footage? Why no editor? Still, to this day. Just a separate video of Stitch, and so it would be such a nice Zeddy video, because one of the most popular Zeddy video is just an edit, isn't it? It's just oh, look at this. Look at this thing. That's what a Zeddy video should look like. Just showing something cool that happens in Hearthstone, bro. So he mentions like Stitch and so, and like show it to me. That's an interesting thing that happens. That's unusual. It cannot, unusual things, anomalies like that just can't really be used as an example. Because we're talking about death rattle as well. You're expecting a death rattle to pop. I mean, that's a lot to ask for, to be honest. No one wants death rattles to be functional in Arena. Like, that's the most disgusting thing in Arena, that you have to be prepared to counter any sort of, like, bullshit that's becoming sticky on the board. Like, of course it must be silenced and removed and all that shit. That's just the generic way to deal with the problem in Arena that you just created. Like, I don't see what the problem is, to be honest, but it still would be an interesting thing to look at because you can only pick one legendary, you know?
An immediate impact, old days would be bad, right?
Now, there's, again, I show you a lot of bad cards that are big. A lot of big cards are being played. Right? It's playable. Definitely playable. We're not going to talk about Reno, but it's playable too. Playable-ish. Lovely card, by the way. I love this card. This is another staple control card because it's a Borkler, but you still have to, you know, it's a cringe Borkler, and it's the loveliest thing ever. But now you have so many big cards that do even bigger things than this, you don't need this anymore. But it's so sad. But it's such a cool card. I would love this to be playable. And it sort of is. This is playable. This is control card because it just fills your hand with one. It's playable, bro. You just have to find the way to do it, and it's the most difficult thing to do. You know, to squeeze value into your deck. Only a handful of big cards are not playable right now. And they did a good job printing them out. You know? Even this is a cool card. People are actually experimenting with big cards. Therazane. Good card. Very interesting. Every elemental deck should run this. Like, where's the problem? Bro. Where the fuck is the problem? I don't see it.
Some of these cards, if they came out a few
they're still good.
years ago, them again.
Because most of them are old. Most of them are old. Like, this is old. This Page of Dragons is old. Wherever it is. I can't find it, guys. But these are old giants that are still being played to this day. So, and those are also like juicy cards. Not necessarily control, because you have to dump even more value, but in terms of mana cheating, that's pretty good. So, where's that page of dragons? No, he has a bunch of fucking signature cards. So this is half of the page, and that's the other half of the page. Yeah, you don't play this, but even Thunderbringers, some kind of combo exists with Hunter and all that shit. Like, these are being played more often than ever before, and Zeddy's still complaining of big card not can play big card. The fuck is wrong with this guy?
And broken Reno effect, and even this card! There's not a tier 2 Reno deck right now. And
yeah, all that's happening right now is Zeddy ran out of control decks to play. So sad.
this poof's insanely good card, and I'll leave off with the craziest example.
Warlock self-damages and cannot play Sargeras, that's not crazy. That's not crazy, bro. Shut the fuck up. Oh wait, what's that, Warshak? You did play Sargeras? How did you do that? Oh, Wheel Warlock. Oh, that's crazy, man. Warshak always builds good control decks, huh?
Robert Warshak here, and we have the Wheel Warlock.
Just scroll down so Zeddy becomes satisfied with himself.
Playing the
Scroll down,
hydration
bro.
station, killing you slowly, so that.
Oh, look, it's Reno. Zeddy, it's Reno in there. It has Wheel, it has all the cool stuff. But it's not tier 2, so I can't just go top 1000 legend anymore. Maybe Zeddy just got kicked out of 1000 legends, and he can't get back in there anymore. He's just not invited, you know? And that is the most satisfying Zeddy problem of all time. Holy shit. Zeddy, I don't think you're going to be invited to 1000 legend party anytime soon. Get the fuck out of here, alright? Get the fuck out of here. I want to see Zeddy retirement video, just like I want to see Mr. Beast retirement video. Alright? Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. I hope you got educated, whoever you are.